Welcome to part 4 of our live training session here with our K24 Swapped Civic Si. This training module, we're going to look at how to calibrate our part throttle cruise area of operation. This is where we spend the majority of our time operating our engine, so we need to make sure the fuel and spark timing, variable cam control, and fuel injection timing are on point so we have the best running engines, we have good throttle response and economy. We're going to cover all of that here in the training module. Let's jump in so we can check this out. Welcome back to our live training session here with our K24 Swapped Civic Si. This training module, we're going to be turning our attention onto calibrating our part throttle cruise area of driving. This is where we spend the majority of our time operating our vehicle, operating our engine. We want to make sure that we put the time into this so that we have good throttle response and good fuel economy. Now we can achieve all of that properly dialing in our volumetric efficiency table, dialing in our closed loop correction so that it's going to work in conjunction with our volumetric efficiency airflow model. We also want to make sure our spark timing is in order as well as our variable cam timing. We're going to be sorting out injection timing in this tutorial as well. All of these will make a huge difference in the way the vehicle runs, the way it drives, and the, again, part throttle economy is really something to consider. Price of gasoline these days, it can make a decent difference in your economy. So we're going to jump into all of those details here in a minute. But I want to go and talk about something specific from our last tutorial. And I mentioned that last tutorial, we're going to come into this tutorial and discuss any updates or changes that I've made in order to resolve our starting problem. Now recall, we were adjusting our cranking fuel table, our prime pulse table, and we weren't getting consistent starting here with our EMU black. Now, it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. Something wasn't adding up. So I did a little bit of trial and error. And what I found in the base file from ECU Masters, they have this option here, batch all injectors toggled on. Now normally that's not a problem. Normally we can keep that on. What happens is under cranking conditions, as we're cranking over the engine, instead of delivering the fuel in a synchronous type of sequential format where in this case we have a cam and crank sensor, we know our position of a number 1 valve opening events, so based around where the cam position is going to be, we can inject the fuel essentially when the valve is going to be open, and we can do that sequentially across all of the cylinders. The batch all option just simply sprays the fuel into the engine across all the cylinders the same, and it does it in just a uniform fashion. It's kind of a generic way of getting the fuel into the engine. Now on alcohol-based engines, so ethanol, methanol, or some engines that are sensitive to our cranking fueling, sometimes this batch all injection option works just fine and we have no problems. In this situation, it was actually creating a lot of problems for us. So what I had to do, just by trial and error, I untoggle batch all injector option off, and that allowed the engine to have consistent starting. So that was very basic minor detail that create a huge problem for us in trying to get our cranking fuel table right. Now once I turned that off and I was getting more consistent fueling and everything was fine and it cranked and it fired like normal, I was able to go back into our cranking fuel table here and adjust my values so that I was able to get good crank, start, and run type of conditions. So exactly what we described in that last tutorial in terms of the process for adjusting our cranking fuel table was done off camera. The thing that was giving us a lot of problems was this batch all option. So you may need to toggle that off if you're getting weird starting problems as we were experiencing in that last tutorial, just so you know and have that as a frame of reference. Okay, so now that we've discussed that, let's talk about where we're at here. Let's talk about what we're going to be doing in this tutorial and the specific order of operations, because that's very important. We have to go and do this in a very specific manner. So if we jump in here from our cranking fuel table to our fuel, we're going to find we have our main VE table, we have our target lambda table, we have our injection timing table here, we have our EGO correction or feedback here that we can go in and program that we know at idle conditions. We have our VE values sorted out so that we have a reasonable VE value representing our airflow into our EMU black, and we were getting a reasonable injector pulse width so that when we were requesting the desired target lambda here of 1.0 lambda at idle conditions, we were achieving that with minimal adjustment from our closed loop correction. And towards the end there, we made a little bit of tweak and adjustment to our VE values based on what our closed loop correction was showing, but essentially it was falling right in line. Now this indicated that we had a couple things right. 1, we had our volumetric efficiency table values right. 2, we expressed our injector flow rate correctly. And then 3, we had our injector calibration, the latency table, dead time table, depending on how you want to call it. All of that data was close enough, and as a result, when we requested that target lambda, we were hitting that target lambda, again, with minimal adjustments from the closed-loop correction. So our airflow model and our fueling model were in line. Now that's just at idle conditions. When we're part throttle conditions, we have to go and check this. So this is going to be everything off idle. So from, let's say, roughly 1400. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.